It's autumn, so that means for MGF owners everywhere it's time to tackle those jobs that have been giving you grief all through the summer months. I'll be changing the thermostat today on my VVC. The VVC has the thermostat around the back of the engine. You have the PRT thermostat towards the front of the engine on later models, but we're going in the back of the engine. Quite a lot to take off, but once again with a basic toolkit, taking it nice and steady, one stage at a time, we'll expose that pesky thermostat, change it and put it all back together again. So first thing I need to do, wind the hood forwards, take the engine bay cover off and get some access to the gubbins. Let's go. So that's phase one completed. We've got the roof held back, we've got the engine bay cover off, that's over there. And just one little top tip before we move on, nuts and bolts. Try and keep nuts and bolts with the components that you take off, then you know everything's gone back in the right place. Now we are going to be splitting the water system obviously for this because we're changing the thermostat. So I have down here a couple of drip trays that I've made up. Cat litter trays will do. I'm going to stuff those underneath the engine shortly because the next phase is the expansion tank has to come out. Little bolt here, I think they're 8mm, couple of clips. That will then just lift out. I've already popped that out of there. For the oil top up, that's got to come out as well, so you take that pipe out of there. There's one bolt down here, and then I believe that just pulls out, it's a push fit. And then we'll move on to taking the plenum chamber out, which is this thing here. Which will entail taking off the air filter. I've got a K&N on here, so yours might look a bit different. If it's standard, yours will fill up this area here. We'll take the air filter off, and then the plenum chamber is a matter of these bolts here. There's 4 bolts down there, and I believe there's another one stuck underneath. So I'll crack on with that, and I have to release the throttle cable from there, which means you just push that way. So I'll crack on with that, and yeah, then be on to the next phase. Right, expansion tank, oil, plenum chamber, air filter. Here we come. Just very quickly, with the expansion tank out and that one bolt holding the oil filler in, you can see that moving down there. The pipe, now you can't just pull that off, but it's got a similar sort of setup to this pipe here. You can't just pull this pipe out, but if you push that in, I'll do it with one hand, you push that in and then you can pull it out. And I'll do that again. You see how the red tab is pulling out with the pipe, but if I hold that in, I can then pull that out with just one finger. You've got a similar sort of thing on the bottom of here. You see where this is moving and it goes into a solid pipe. You have to reach down, hold that little tab up, the same as the red one I've just shown you, and then the whole lot, this will just pull straight out. So I'll do that and then I'll go and wash my hands because I know it's going to be filthy and oily. Right, that, then a plenum chamber. Okay, so let's quickly whiz through what we've had to undo and take out to get the plenum chamber to be nice and loose. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts there. You have a little sensor on the end here, which is just held in by a couple of 8mm bolts. Take them out, throw the sensor to one side. You've got this pipe, showing you how to undo this earlier. Throttle cable, slide it out of there, and then it's very simple to get the cable out. It's just like an old-fashioned brake lever. This pipe comes off of here, whipping round to the other side. A couple of breather pipes on here, lever those off. One electrical plug there, one electrical plug for the throttle body, and then hopefully if I can balance that there somehow or other. Plenum chamber, let's try this way. Ta-da! Away we go. And that is your plenum chamber out. There was one further little breather pipe which I just had to pull off. So now what we've got is the inlet manifold, and we can nearly see the thermostat housing right down there. So now it's really important you don't drop anything down here because it's going straight into the inner workings of your engine, so be very careful from this point onwards. Now the next thing we need to do is release the inlet manifold, which has got a series of bolts. You can see that one there, a nut there, a bolt there, and then there are some underneath these inlet pipes. There are some sort of tucked away underneath, so you have to sort of go down here and in to get those. But I'll whip that off and then once the inlet manifold is off, I'll be able to show you where those bolts are underneath. You can obviously feel them, you can't see them to get them out, but I say it make a lot more sense once the inlet manifold is actually off. So that's next. Now we get the first look at our thermostat housing, which is this thing down here. It's held on with one 8mm bolt, goes through into the block, and it pushes straight into where the water pump is. And it's also a push fit onto these metal pipes. One of these metal pipes goes around here, which we have to release in a minute. But going back to the inlet manifold, you can see by the gasket I've been in here recently, and it's held on at the top. 1, 2, 3 bolts and 1, 2 nuts. And these are the ones I was saying about underneath. 1, 2, 3, 4, directly underneath the ports. They're a 10mm head. You have to get your extension bar and sort of feed it underneath. You can't see them, but once you've got those 4 out, a couple of electrical connectors down here so you can spin the inlet manifold out of the way, because we have to undo this. I think there is a bolt under here which we have to undo. I could be wrong, I think there is, maybe 2. And then we're nearly there. We've nearly got the thermostat out. So quite a job, but we're getting there. Some people would have you believe that you can do this job with the inlet manifold in place. Well, as you've already seen, the thermostat housing is really well hidden, and once you've got a couple of bolts out from here and just behind here, these metal pipes are all loose, and you have to give it one hell of a yank in that direction, bit of a wiggle to get the thermostat housing out of there. And now we just have to pull, to make it sound simple, have to pull the thermostat housing that way out of the metal pipe. Then we can change the thermostat over, put it all back together again. Marvellous. Right, so I'll do that. I just can't believe anybody could ever tackle this job with it all in place, all of this gubbins over the top. Well, here is the offending article, finally got it off, and you may be surprised to see all the way through the thermostat housing, because it has one of these inside. It's what I call a restrictor ring. Some people on some of the MGF forums recommend it to restrict the flow of water, but effectively takes the thermostat completely out of the system. I've experimented with that, useless, don't bother, because it's not actually stopping water going to the radiator at all. It means it's extremely hard to get your engine up to temperature because it's being cooled the whole time, so a bit of a waste of time. Another thing is, it's really difficult to find an 82 degrees centigrade thermostat that will fit this engine. They're all 88. Now I'd like to bring that down a little bit to 82, so the thermostat will operate at 82 and allow water to go to the radiator a little bit sooner than otherwise designed. Really difficult to find one. I've found one. Made by Borg & Beck. I'll be selling these on eBay shortly. It's an 82 degree one, and it has a little jiggle valve in there as well, to allow a tiny little bit of water to bypass through to the radiator. So I'll be putting that in my new thermostat housing, building it all up, putting it all back together. Now when you're pushing it back together again, I think you can see the seals on here. They'll push into the metal housings on the car, the small one into the pipes and the large one into the water pump housing. Make sure they're lubricated, wet them a little bit before you push them in there, so you don't roll the seals out of the little channels that they're sitting in. And before you put it all back together, nice clean cloth, wipe around the aperture where the seals are going to push into as well. Get any muck out of there, because you want that seal to sit in there nice and tight against the curve of the metal. So I'll put that together, and then it's just a matter of putting it all back together. Haha, this is simple. So a few hours and a couple of interruptions later, the engine is all back together, and in typical Haynes manual style, I should say, it is simply a matter of doing everything in reverse of the way you took it apart. Makes it sound so simple, doesn't it? So there are 3 places on a K-series engine on the MGF to bleed the system of air. So around the front, first thing you need to do, put your heater on. Put the heater on. That allows water to circulate through the heater matrix, and you bleed it. There's normally a plastic screen here, isn't there? bleed it from there. That's an 8mm nut. Also, top of the radiator, and around on top of the engine. This is the one that most people don't do if they are going to skimp on these things, because it's normally under, well, you've normally got your engine cover here, haven't you? But we've got ours off at the moment, and just in there is another 8mm little bleed point. So really important that you bleed all the air out of the system, keep topping up that expansion tank, and that's it. Job's a good one. Is it a difficult job? Can be, because some of those bolts are tucked away where you can't see them. Can you do it? Yes, you can. Right, that's it. I think I might put the roof down. Actually, put the roof down at the back, put the roof down fully, and take her for a little drive. Because I much prefer driving my car than working on it. I don't mind working on it too much. Until next time, goodbye.